Okay, hello everyone. My name is Laquan Williams, and today in this video, I'm going to be doing a review of the Flash's Armageddon Part 3 that aired yesterday. It's Season 8, Episode 3. Yesterday, the Black Lightning made an appearance, which I was great and happy to hear. Excuse me, not just happy to hear. I heard about that months ago. I was happy to see that because I love Black Lightning. I miss him. I have all three of his. I don't have all four of the seasons. I have three of the four seasons of his show on DVD. I did not get the last one that just aired. June was the last episode that aired. It was for about January to it was like March to June of last year of this year. Excuse me, 2021. Unfortunately, the show's gone and done. He will be making appearances on the Flash, I guess maybe in the future, hopefully, and hopefully Superman and Lois. I hope they do another not cliffhanger, excuse me, another crossover for these shows next year because the Flash will be over next year. Season 9 will most likely be the final season, so hopefully, there'll be a last team up together, and other characters from the past aren't dead and they cannot bring back will hopefully come back, but next week in Armageddon Part 4, which will be Season 8, Episode 4, Batwoman's going to be in it. So that means Episode 5, Mia Queen / Mia Smoke, who is the daughter of Oliver Queen and Felicity Smoke, who is going to be taking his place like she was obviously supposed to do in the future with the Green Arrow and the Canaries show. She's going to be the new Green Arrow. Connor Hawk would have been in an alternate reality / universe, but they became a couple and they joined the little mini team up, obviously, of mini team Green Arrow. See, the CW pulled the plug on the show before it even got greenlit because they decided to change their mind, just like what they did with Black Lightning's spinoff show Painkiller. But Black Lightning wasn't going to be on there physically, maybe one or two episodes, but his older daughter Anessa, was supposed to be on it, and obviously Painkiller, who used to be his daughter's boyfriend. So basically, what we are seeing, and obviously, in the next week's episode, Batwoman's going to be on it. The guy who's supposed to replace Adam, who obviously is Brandon Routh's character, he's going to be on the show next week, and also Damien Dark, obviously, and also Reverse Flash will be on it as well. So a lot of people, bad guys included, will be on the show next week. The guy who was supposed to be the new Adam, who was supposed to replace Ray Palmer, who the actor Brandon Routh plays on Legends of Tomorrow. But I don't know if that's actually going to happen. We'll see, because he was supposed to play him like years ago, but they never put him in physically in the Adam suit. He's just made appearances. He played Eric Choi on Supernatural, so you can look him up and you'll know the actor's name. I actually forgot his name. So basically, on last night, obviously, Black Lightning was there fully on the episode for Season 8, Episode 4, which is Armageddon Part 3 last night. But at the end of the last episode, which was Season 8, Episode 2, obviously Armageddon Part 2, because the first 5 episodes of this current season of The Flash, which is Season 8, they're all 5-part episode series that continue on for the first 5 weeks, obviously, of the show, which is Armageddon, obviously. He made an appearance at the end, so you basically knew at the end of the second episode that Black Lightning was going to be obviously looking to help Barry, obviously, but I already knew that because I've been looking at the cast for this whole entire 5-part episode series and who's obviously going to be in it. Barry Allen was looking for obviously Black Lightning to help him. He told him everything that happened about him attacking the citizens of Star City, him attacking his friends, his family, Iris, everybody, and Barry's like, I don't know what's going on, and I need help, obviously. And he asked Jefferson Pierce, aka Black Lightning, to use the Injustice protocols, and they're basically at the Hall of Justice. They have the chairs there for everybody. There's Superman, Supergirl, Green Arrow has his chair, Black Lightning has his chair, Flash has his chair, and other characters on the show who obviously weren't going to make appearances. Batwoman has her own chair too. So essentially, Barry told Black Lightning, I need you to take my powers away from me and to enact the Injustice protocols, because that was the whole thing. They said that anybody on the team who decides to go rogue and become a bad guy, any superheroes who are involved, like I said, Superman, Supergirl, Black Lightning, the Flash, Green Arrow, and Batwoman, anybody who goes rogue, they're supposed to use anybody on the team can use the protocols against them to either take their powers out or essentially kill them if they go rogue, and they decide to start taking human lives, obviously, because they're supposed to be sworn to protect the citizens and obviously the whole entire Earth and planet, which they obviously did on the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover, which happened just last year. So actually it was 2019 if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So essentially that's what is going on currently right now. somehow. So Black Lightning told Barry that he didn't want to do it, obviously, and he did end up doing it, obviously, to a certain degree, but Barry still said, I had some of my speed left, so it really didn't work out. The negative isotopes that were in the atmosphere, Dion gave Barry, so he gave him an extra power boost, which allowed him towards the end of the episode to travel back forward into the future in this alternate timeline that they're currently in, to find out that obviously the Reverse Flash is the one who's been doing this all along. He's messed up with the timeline reality with negative isotopes, obviously, and a negative speed, not the negative speed force, the negative steel force. Dion explained it to Iris West, so Iris told Barry that Reverse Flash is obviously, well, technically she didn't tell Barry that Reverse Flash isn't involved with it. Barry didn't find out until he went to the future, 10 years, which is 2030, from where they currently are, which is 2021. But technically, it would be 2031 because technically they're in 2021. So it's 10 years in the future. So he sees Reverse Flash, aka Harrison Wells, the evil version. Excuse me, it's Eobard Thawne, not Harrison Wells. Same, obviously, guy plays the character. Obviously, he obviously saw, which is Tom Cavanaugh. The actor plays both the same characters, obviously. So there's no differences, obviously. Just a different, like, it's a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde situation. You know, one's good, one's bad. Barry sees him and Iris at a marriage party for a bridal shower, and everybody's there except everybody's there except Caitlin, Killer Frost, obviously Cisco and his girlfriend are no longer there on the show, so they're not there. Neither is Sue Dearborn and Ralph Dibny. Joe West isn't there because essentially if Joe West was killed in this timeline by the Reverse Flash currently that they're in, this messed up timeline, he's no longer there as well because he took him out somehow. So he's not there. So everybody's everybody's there except a couple of people, obviously. So after that happens, at the end of the episode, everybody turns to Barry and they look, and it's Batwoman as well, and they're asking the Reverse Flash, what the hell is Barry doing here? That's where Barry obviously has to decide what to do because everybody's looking at him to attack him because he's the bad guy obviously in this timeline, which obviously was set up by the Reverse Flash. Because remember at the end of the last season, the Reverse Flash was able to get away after he fought Barry for a brief second, and when they helped each other to take down obviously Godspeed, who was much more powerful than obviously Barry could handle. But they did this basically, you're the enemy of my enemy is my friend type of a deal, where they helped each other take down Godspeed in order to keep the timeline, obviously the world, safe in general, because Godspeed made all these alternate clones of himself, and he's super fast, super speed. His super speed obviously was too much for the whole team to take, and Barry couldn't do it all by himself. You know, he had other speedsters help him. This guy was able to make clones of himself, and it was just too much at the end. So he still needed help, obviously, from somebody else who he didn't want to turn to. But it was the end. He ended up having to turn to his mortal worst enemy, the Reverse Flash. That's what happened. He escaped at the end. So we all knew that he was going to come back, and now he's back. And he's the one who's been screwing up the whole entire timeline and making Despero believe that he's destroying the city and whatnot. They explained it to Despero, but they need to show him some actual physical proof that Barry's not the one doing it, which I think they will in the next episode, obviously, so he cannot take Barry out, because that's essentially what happened. The whole entire team was trying to figure out a way to find out why Barry was still being framed. Iris believed that Joe was still alive. Cecile was trying to throw her weight around and say Iris needs to stop doing what she's doing, and she's not going to be allowed to have a vote. Essentially, she told Iris, you can't do what you want in order to look for Joe and Barry. Iris told her, this is my dad and obviously my husband. I'm going to do what I want. You can't stop me. And Iris told Cecile, I'm going to find out this my way. You can do it your way. So she left, and Chester and Caitlin Snow were essentially being told what to do by Cecile. And I was like, I thought that was kind of weird, because Iris was here first and Barry is her. Iris and Barry were here first way before Cecile, and Iris is obviously still Joe West's daughter. So she said, I'm going to look for my father and my husband because they're both missing right now. And you can't obviously tell me what to do, because she's obviously an investigative reporter and journalist, and like I said, a wife and obviously a daughter. She's looking for her father, Captain Joe West, and obviously Barry Allen, her husband, who is the Flash, obviously, and the father of her kids, who they have obviously two in the future, obviously, who are speedsters, obviously, Bart Allen and obviously Nora Allen, who Barry named after his his mother. So essentially, that's what happened. So they were looking for ways to figure out to help. Obviously, the team was looking to help. Obviously, Barry and obviously find him. They tracked down this psychic. I forgot her name, but she's on the show. She has blonde hair. She's a bad guy slash villain from previous seasons. They asked her for help, and she said yes. And obviously, essentially, what happened after that was they were able to find Barry, but she turned on them and brought Despero there, and Despero literally almost killed this girl. She barely survived. And basically, towards the end of the episode, Cecile kind of zapped Despero away barely. I don't know how she was still able to do that because she's not powerful enough to take him out herself. But that really didn't mean anything because as soon as she zapped him to disappear, he found Barry and Black Lightning, and they had this big, huge fight. And Black Lightning was attacking Despero, trying to keep him off Barry after he was choking Barry, trying to kill him. Then after, obviously, the rest of the team stepped in. Excuse me, not the rest of the team. Dion brought Iris there, and Iris explained to Barry what's going on exactly. And Dion gave Barry enough isotopes, negative isotope energy for him to be powered up more, so he would gain more speed, and allowed him to travel into the future, and 10 years later to see obviously exactly what's been going on and who's been screwing him up. So he arrives in Star City, looks around, and obviously he sees this event at this big huge store. It says West Party. So he goes in there to see, and he looks around. He sees Iris with, like I said, Harrison Wells. Eobard Thawne, obviously, and he's like, well. Barry looks obviously very surprised and obviously shocked that he figures out that the Reverse Flash is the one who's been doing all of this. He created Armageddon. He set Barry up and framed him, destroyed his image and his obviously reputation throughout the city, obviously, and he was able to do this obviously by screwing up the timeline, obviously, in a way where people weren't able to see it because it was stealth. Like even Dion said, I didn't know he did that because if he did, I would be able to see it. But he obviously broke rules and went and did something very sneaky behind the backs of everybody, so nobody knew it was him, not even Despero. But there's a possibility Despero was lying. He knew obviously it was Reverse Flash all along. He just wanted to take Barry out so he can be the hero, because remember, Despero told the team he can't go back to his home planet. He's banished there. He's stuck here, and he has to stay on Earth. This is where he is stuck and cursed to stay. So obviously he's like, oh, I can be the hero here, obviously, now, because people don't know me. I can take the Flash out, be the big new guy, obviously, in charge, and take the big bag of Flash out and be the new hero. That's obviously what he was looking to do. So we'll see what happens. Iris obviously soon found out that obviously this whole thing was a ruse and that somebody was messing with the timeline, even though obviously Allegra told her, like, look, listen, your dad wasn't supposed to fall on that train. Essentially what was happening. So like I said, he was taken out of the timeline, Joe West. So where he's at, we obviously don't know if he's in the Steel Force or the Speed Force, and he's being held captive / prisoner there, or possibly he's in this alternate timeline where Barry's currently is, because Barry went forward 10 years into the future in 2031, so he's there now. So Joe West probably is there. I think the Reverse Flash took him there so he would be out of the way. So obviously, like I said, he creates this alternate timeline, takes Joe West out of 2021 and puts him in 2031 where no one can find him. And obviously Barry will end up finding him. Damien Dark looks like he's going to help Barry, obviously, in the next episode, because he's obviously mad at the Reverse Flash, so he'll probably help him take him out or get Joe West and figure out where he is. Batwoman's going to take on Barry, and they're going to fight, and obviously other team members are going to have to will attack Barry, because this is an alternate timeline, so they're all corrupted and they all turned against Barry. So they're basically mindless zombies who are being used against Barry Allen as pawns by Eobard Thawne, aka the Reverse Flash. That's basically what's been happening. Jefferson Pierce, aka Black Lightning, explained to Barry that he needed to stand up and stop and don't quit, because he's a hero and he believes in him. He told him Oliver Queen wouldn't quit on him, so he shouldn't quit on himself and everybody. That's essentially what happened. I didn't like the whole situation with I think I didn't like the whole situation with Cecile and this whole thing with her abilities and powers thing. It's been ran through the mud. I'm just not gonna lie here. It's cringy. I don't like it. It's really pathetic. I think that really no one's really even able to help Barry Allen at all, really, that much. Like, I don't know. I'm kind of confused. Like, if you have a team behind you, what's going on? While he was getting beat up by what was it Zoltar a couple of episodes ago? No one was able to help Barry. Killer Frost was not in reach. No one was able to get to him. Allegra was there, but there was no way for them to obviously get to him. So I'm like, what's going on with that? Obviously, other team members such as Sue Dearborn and Ralph Dibny pop back up whenever they want to or they can. Cisco and his girlfriend are gone, so they're not really coming back until they have like reunion type of episodes where they come back. So I'm just like, what's going on with that? Like, her powers really aren't helping Barry. They helped find him, but she's not really helping the team. As far as like infield combat, because like I said, no one was able to help Barry against Zoltar. He was getting his bones crunched in the air. She was lifting him, ascending him up in the air. Obviously, he couldn't move, and nobody was able to help him. They had no. I was like, okay, you guys don't have the technology. I'm like, what happened to those teleporter watches you guys had to teleport into the field to save Barry? Where's Killer Frost at? We know Chillbane's supposed to be on the team, but he hasn't actually made an appearance since last season. I think it was episode 14 or 13. He hasn't made an appearance since then. His name keeps being brought up, so we'll see what happens with that. Apparently, Robbie Amell, aka Stephen Amell's brother, is supposed to come back as what I forgot the character, his name. Firestorm. He's supposed to come back on The Flash this season. Don't know if that's going to be for a couple episodes or it's just one, but they said it's going to be a couple, but that's under wraps, and we don't know what's going to happen with that. He'd be very helpful to help Barry because I'm like, no one's really helping him out. Like, he's getting attacked by Despero, and besides the one episode, obviously, where Brandon Routh's character, the Atom, aka Ray Palmer, helped him. Other than that, he's out alone. And I'm just like, wow, just like, yeah, you know, the whole constant thing. Like, oh my God, my powers. It's just like so pathetic and cringy. I'm like, even like, it's just like so pathetic. And then I was just like, how Cecile was like telling Iris, like, how dare you? I'm like, she's like, I'm trying to find my husband and my father. What are you talking about? Like, she's trying to tell her what to do and you can't do this. I'm like, she's been here first. I'm like, what are you talking about? She was here way before you were. Even she saw her mom and her brother leave the show, leave obviously out of their life. Wally West and obviously Iris West's mother. She's not dead, but she's alive. She's obviously has a half sister that she knows about, but they're no longer on the show. But just Cecile trying to impose her will on. I'm like, Iris is going to be always second in command to make a decision if Barry's not there. Cecile just decides to say, oh no, I'm doing it. So Cecile told Iris, you can't do that. She said, I'm going to do it my way. You can do it your way. And she left. I was just like, wow, isn't that kind of rude? Because she's like, can't you just look at this? And she's like, well, how could Barry forget about that? She's like, we know Despero's in charge and involved with this. You don't believe Barry. And I'm just like, and then Killer Frost wasn't there, but she was there last week. She's like, oh, I don't believe it. Barry probably is going to go dark side. Like I said before, that whole situation was really weird because I'm just like, he was one of the ones that defended you to make sure you got out of prison. She was like, I can see that happening. Like, she wasn't very high up on Barry being a straight hero, straight shooter, obviously, with being good. I'm like, what do you mean you can see him going bad? She is the only one, quote unquote, giving him the cold shoulder, like I said, because she's Killer Frost, obviously. She literally shoots snow out of her, ice out of her hands, and, she's very dangerous, obviously. Her name's Killer Frost, for crying out loud. So that was like last week's episode. This week's episode, like I said, Iris getting into it with Cecile. I was just like, what's going on? And then I was like, okay, so how are you gonna? I was like, okay, so Cecile has no way of doing this herself. So what did she do? She had to go to a criminal who they obviously locked up a couple of times and ask her. I think the girl's name was it's not Sunshine. That's not Sunshine. It's that psychic girl. I forgot her name. But anyways, they had to ask her for help, and she said, "Oh, this is a quid pro quo. If you help us out with finding the Flash," she said, "Oh yeah, I'll help you." I'll help your the parole officers cut down on your sentencing time, so your probation time, because she's already out of jail. So she said, okay, sure, fine, I'll help you. I'm like, okay, so let me get this straight. You told Iris that she had to do it her way. So essentially, Iris went to go do it her way. So, okay, while she went to go do it her way, you figured out that you needed more power in order to reach Barry with your psychic ability, but you couldn't do it yourself. So you had actually had to give a criminal money. She handed her cash in her hand, and so she's paying her essentially twice. Not only did she give her cash in her hand and tell her, yes, I will help you, I'll pay you for this, and I'll also talk to the state's attorney or the DA or whatever, basically to tell them that to help you cut down on your reduced sentence for your parole, so you can get off parole way more faster. I was just like, okay, so you're telling Iris that she can't obviously do it her way, but you had to go ask a criminal for help and give them money and bribe them and obviously help trying to schmooze them over and literally bribe them twice with giving them her cash in her hand and then saying, I'll help you get your sentencing reduced for your parole. So I was just like, Cecile kind of looked a little weird saying that and doing that. I kind of want to say hypocritical because she said she was going to do it her way, but that's what they decided to do. I have no idea. I don't know if they knew anybody else who was psychic. Actually, you know what? They probably could have had, I forgot the bad guy's name that was on the show a couple of seasons ago. He's still technically on the team, but in an off-put setting. I think his name was Psych. I think they could have helped him, asked him for help or somehow, or other people. Or could they not have called the Speed Force on, who obviously looks like Barry Allen's mom, Nora Allen, to help find Barry? But apparently they couldn't do that. So obviously they have no technology, so they couldn't ask Gideon for help because they're not at Star Labs right now, because they got set up obviously to make it look like they had a nuclear reaction situation there. Oh yeah, and Despero turned on the particle accelerator. Yeah. Despero turned on the particle accelerator at Star Labs, and the government agents, they're like, why is this machine turned on by itself? He pops up and says, oh, that's because I did it. Then he hits them all with his powers and disrupts their minds, and he makes them turn on each other, so they start attacking each other, and he causes a distraction, so he has them under his spell. Meanwhile, he goes to the machine where they had the negative reaction thing to the nuclear, I guess you can say, readings that came up. He grabs it and starts gaining power from it to grasp the minds of other people. As he says, I have all this power, I'm going to be able to get into the minds of so many people and can basically control them and use them to his advantage. So, like I said, he's being able to do whatever he wants, running around here looking for Barry, searching for him with his third eye that he has popping out of his head, which allows him to look around the city, possibly even scan the universe for him. But he couldn't find Barry for some reason, but he had to come in and use, obviously, like I said, Cecile and the other girls, the blonde girl who's a psychic bad guy. He had to use them, obviously, to get help to find Barry. So I thought that was kind of weird, because I'm like, can't Despero do it on his own? He needed to use both their minds and get into them and invade them in order to find Barry. So that's what happened, and he ended up finding him. So I was like, yeah, because that's why I was like, oh yeah, Cecile was like, oh yeah, I'm not alone. She zaps Despero, and she's like, well, it's too late now, because now he knows where Barry is. He's on his way to him. So essentially, she really didn't help at all to a certain degree. She helped lead Despero to Barry and the Black Lightning, who were there together alone. So, like I said before, she really didn't help. Iris was the one who actually ended up finding out what happened, because she saw the negative isotopes from the Steel Force flying all out through the air as like black little raindrops. So she actually figured it out. So that's why I said Iris was the one who actually is the investigator. She figured it out and found out, and her and Dion realized it, and she knew what happened. She told Barry, and now Barry knows the truth. Cecile didn't help at all. So all she did was lead the Despero to fight and kill also Barry Allen and Black Lightning, which she almost did. So essentially, in the end, like I said, Cecile was the one who was like imposing her will and throwing her weight around. But like I said, she didn't help at all. Cecile didn't help at all. Iris West was the one who did. So that's all I have to say about this video. That's why I was really pissed off about that, because she was yelling at her. I'm like, Iris was the one, like, literally in the Mirrorverse, the Mirror Universe last year, the Mirrorverse. Like, she's been through a lot. Like, then they even brought up Red Bloodborne, her getting killed by Savitar. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, she always tries to find Barry, obviously, and Barry finds her and tries to save her, and she's doing everything that she can. She's trying to find her dad and Barry Allen. So I'm like, why are you going to throw your weight around and say, oh, you can't do this? I'm like, you're not even her mother. Even if you were, I'm like, she's like literally 30 something years old, a grown woman. So she's going to do what she wants. So she did. And in the end, Iris West Allen was right, and Cecile was wrong. That's basically the end of it. And like I said, I don't like Cecile, and I don't like her and Captain Kramer. I'm like, if Joe West comes back, hopefully, but he's not going to be a cop. He'll probably be a private detective in his off life, since he's not going to be a police officer anymore. I don't like the whole Captain Kramer situation. She's the bad guy, but now she's like, oh, now because I'm a metahuman, everybody knows about it. I'm the good police chief. After she was trying to lock up Killer Frost last season and Caitlin Snow and take their powers away from both of them. obviously. Well, Killer Frost. The Kiss Caitlyn, obviously, and her split in two different people separately. So Caitlyn has no powers. Killer Frost and her are two different completely people, and now they're not just one being, obviously, or one person. They're two because they split apart the atoms. So, like I said, that's basically it. We'll see what happens, obviously, with Firestorm, aka Robbie Amell, coming back on the show. Stephen Amell's brother. He'll be on the show in a couple of weeks on this season for, I think it's episode 13 and 14. They say he's supposed to appear in a couple. I don't know, but it'll be great to see him, how he comes back. We don't know because that's a secret, but it'll be great to see that because I really miss him. That's cool. I don't know if Cisco Ramon's going to come back on the show. Obviously, we'll see because other characters look like they're coming back on the show from the past just randomly. Reverse Flash. Maybe who else is going to come back? I have no idea. But like I said, Black Lightning's here next week. Batwoman will be here. Week after that, which is episode 5, Armageddon Part 5, the last one. Mia Smoke / Mia Queen will be there as the new Green Arrow for that episode. And that'll be basically the end of it. We'll see what happens the rest of the season. Who's going to pop up from the past? Like I said, next week, Damien Dark's going to be there, Batwoman, Reverse Flash. So it's a lot of people next week, obviously. So we'll see what happens with that. And that's the end of my video, my review for it. It was okay. It was cool. Like I said, the only parts I didn't like were, like I said, the Cecile situation with Iris, because she was like attacking her and saying, "You can't do this." I'm putting my foot down over the whole entire team, and I was like, Caitlin Snow sounded like a therapist, like, "Okay, Cecile, what do you want to do?" With her calm and softly voice, all slow. I was like, "What, are you a therapist?" Yeah, she's like, "What do you want to do, Cecile?" That's what Caitlin Snow told her. I'm like, well, Iris was looking to go find out what happened. Oh yeah, like I said, find out what happened with her husband and her dad, Joe West, and obviously Barry Allen, who was the Flash. Oh yes, also she got played because guess what happened? As soon as Despero popped up, she's like, "Oh, I'll help you find the Flash. We can help you kill him." And she was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Cecile, you got played. She's a criminal. What do you think she was going to do? You gave her money and you got played." So she got played. She got her killed. She almost got everybody killed there, actually, because she trusted this girl. It looked like she was trying to bribe Despero. She didn't know who he was, but he still said no. He ended up almost killing her. I don't know how she's going to survive because there was blood like coming out of the side of her ears and stuff. There was a lot in her face. It looked terrible. Like if Caitlin's like, she's barely alive. I'm like, how's she going to survive? You guys can't get her to a hospital because Barry is not there to run her there very fast. You guys can't do that. Like, Killer Frost can get her pretty fast, obviously, with her powers. And that's basically it. So we'll see what happens in the rest of the show. In next week's episode, which will be season 8, episode 4, Armageddon Part 4, when Batwoman, Reverse Flash, and also Damien Dark will be on the show as well. Also Ryan Choi, who is supposed to be the new Atom. We'll see what happens with that. And that's basically it. It's the end of my video for this week, current episode of The Flash. And I was glad to see Black Lightning back and talking to Barry because they have very good interactions, and I wish she would come back to do other episodes. It's sad his show's over, but that's unfortunately what happened. Behind the scenes creative differences is what was put online for us to see in so many articles. We have no idea what happened. His last season, the script was changed 13 times 6 months ago before it was changed. It was changed 13 times before they shot it. It was insane. I was like, when I saw that, I was like, really? Wow. I know the pandemic situation, but writing the script like 13 times, it being changed, I don't know what the heck happened. Like I said, but that is one of the negative issues that I have with this creative differences issue that obviously we'll never learn about behind the scenes. But with Black Lightning, the truth about it, obviously, China, forgot her name, McLean or whatever, who was on the show playing his younger daughter, obviously left the show. So we'll see what happens with that. If we ever hear anything in the future, but I miss Black Lightning. I have all his seasons on DVD, except on Blu-ray, except the 4th and final season. But hopefully he's back on the Flash sometime to do other crossover episodes in the future. Hopefully, or also hopefully he ends up showing up on Superman and Lois maybe next year. I don't know, but we'll see. Or maybe Legends of Tomorrow as well. One can only hope for that. But thanks for watching my video. And that's all I have to say about this. And we'll see what happens on The Flash next week, which will be season 8, episode 4, which is Armageddon Part 4. There's only 5 parts. It's the first 5 episodes of the season. Then they move into another timeline or an alternate reality. Actually, technically, they're supposed to be back on the regular timeline once this is all fixed. So they'll be back in regular 2021, and everybody around them who's not involved in the city will think nothing actually really happened because it'll be changed. Obviously, once the Reverse Flash is defeated and thrown into the abyss, or possibly stuck in the steel force or the negative speed force, or even the speed force itself can trap him there. We'll see what happens with that. That's all. That's the end of my video. And thank you again for watching. That's all I have to say about this. Again, thanks. Bye.